Okay, so the thing that I love the most about Destiny is its gunplay and the unique guns you have in the video game. But there seems to be a problem over the recent years and times, and yeah, this is another complaining video about how strong abilities are. Now, I will say, Cammy posted a really good tweet out yesterday, and it said something about, what he thought, the worst type of metas were. He said, number one, Titan's Barricade, Revoker, Storm Grenade, Arc Titan. This is his worst ever meta that he ever thinks been in Destiny. Number two is One-Eyed Mask Launch. 3. Antius Launch. 4. Geomag Sword Hilt. 5. Omnioculus, Capri's Lord of Wolves, and Lorenz. Number 6. Loreley Splendor Launch. Number 7. Triple Behemoth, 2 years ongoing. And then dishonorable mentions: Wormhusk Launch and Class D Restoration Season, Mountaintop Recluse, Stasis Launch, Arc 3.0, Titan Ongoing, Ursa Furiosa, Shard Swapping, Frosty Dynamo, Radiant Dance Machine Launch. And this is the worst Destiny 2 PvP metas that weren't related to bugs. Which is crazy, right? Now, Stasis Launch was something else because nothing worked like intended, aka Stasis Warlock. And maybe it did. That's why they kept disabling it, because they realized people can make so much more out of this than they can. And clearly people could, which is why they kept disabling it. Yeah, these things aren't related to bugs. Now that I think about it, nothing is related to a bug. This is how Bungie wanted to be on release. And it makes me wonder, if you remember everything I said, how much of this were weapons? We had Mountaintop Recluse, Lord of Wolves Lorenz, and Revoker, and that's the only thing that's weapons. Everything else on this list is abilities or exotic armor. And this is still my point. I don't think the weapons are broken in this game. The only thing I think is really unbalanced are abilities. And it's been a big issue ever since we got the 3.0 subclasses. If we go back to whenever they actually reworked all the subclasses to how they felt it was the most balanced, aka the 30th anniversary drop, then I will say abilities felt balanced. You had, of course, Stasis, which has always been really strong, but if you compare like Stasis to what it was then compared to what it was before, they kind of neutered shadow diving, at least shadow diving into groups. You couldn't really do that anymore and get like all three without any like backfire. And most of the bullshit was gone. Behemoth Titan was a good subclass, but it wasn't like you needed to know how to play with it to be able to use it well. It still kind of is that way unless you're going with Rhyme Titan. If you go with Rhyme Titan, then it's gonna be very easy. But if you play without Rhyme, then Stasis Behemoth is something completely different. It's a very fun subclass to play. Stasis Warlock, I still think, is one of the most broken subclasses in the game to this day since launch, and it's only because of how the abilities work. Titans doesn't have a melee that freezes people, it only hits them and can send them around. Hunters don't have a melee that freezes people, but it slows them. Warlocks have a melee that freezes people, right? Now, of course, the range on this isn't that long, but it's still really strong. Every time you place down your class ability, guess what happens? You freeze people. They remove that feature from Titans, which was when you pop Behemoth, you would freeze someone. Now, I will agree, Behemoth used to be fucking broken, and I'm not taking that away from it, but the Stasis Warlock shit is so dumb. If you freeze one person, you can chain freeze to other people. You have turrets. Turrets you can just throw random spots on top of corners of maps you can barely see, if you have the lineups for it. And it's going to be a real pain in the ass to actually play against someone like that. But of course, you don't see them very often at all, because a lot of people know how scummy it is and they don't want to take the time to learn. A lot of people don't like to do that in this game. If people spent time learning instead of just jumping on whatever's the biggest, we would have a completely different meta right now. I can tell you that right now. Like, the way I like to play Destiny is usually play with one of the subclasses that doesn't really take that much, brain process into. Sometimes it does. I love playing Thunderclap or Sentinel Toss or shit like that. Things that's funny if you actually manage to get it to work, or things that's really cool if you get it to work, like Gunpowder Gamble. But it doesn't work all the time. You have to be playing around it. But what I love is gunplay with weird weapons. I love Last Word on mouse and keyboard. I love using something like Mida Multi-Tool, or Tyranny of Heaven, which is a lightweight bow, or even trace rifles. They're not even that bad. Now, using something like Le Monarch, Fighting Lion, and stuff like that kind of goes on what's meta, but people aren't really using. Of course, a lot of people are using Le Monarch, and people just know Fighting Lion's scummy. I love using something like Tommy's Matchbook. That weapon is so fun. And I like Gravlands before they nerfed it, or before they buffed it. It's still really good. I mean, they buffed it because it was not good enough, so it's really good now. But it's not the best weapon in the game like some people think it is. You still have high impact pulse rifles. And high impact frame pulse rifles are the best weapon type in the game. Better than Immortal, better than aggressive frame SMGs. High impact pulse rifles are the best in the game, and No Time is a great example of it. It has the same TTK as it has the same TTK as an Immortal, but it can kill you from across the map, or any point actually. But yeah, the biggest issue with Destiny is abilities, and Bungie kind of said, yeah guys, we want to make abilities feel a little bit more balanced, so we're doing this big rework as 30th anniversary, and then next season we're going to completely forget about it. Season after that, we're actually not going to give you anything, but the season after that, we're going to completely forget about it again. And guess what? The season after that, we're going to completely forget about it again. Doesn't that sound fun? That's what I thought. Until we are at the point we are today. Arc Titan has been literally the best subclass in the game since they did the 3.0 change. And before that it was Solar, and guess what was before that? It was Void. And you see how they keep doing this? First we got Void, which was unbelievably broken and started a new trend, Omnioculus Lord of Wolves, or Capri Sting with Lawrence. And then people still used it. It didn't really get nerfed, and then we got Solar 3.0. And a lot of people used Classy Restoration. That's the only reason most people use Solar. It wasn't because, it was broken, but it was because Classy Restoration was such a good mod. And Restoration was definitely overtuned at the time. They managed to kind of fix Solar, I'm not gonna lie. The only issues I have with Solar nowadays is Young Amkara Spine. But that's bound to an exotic, right? Except for that, I don't really find Solar Warlock, Solar Hunter, or Solar Titan a problem. Of course, you have Well of Radiance, but you can make the same argument for Bubble. I don't like the way they did the super changes, but I see why they did them. But it forces everyone to use supers that's not that fun to play against. Imagine if it was still back in the day where you were getting chased by Behemoth Titan, you did a 180 and sniped them in the air. Guess what? You can't do that anymore because you're never gonna see a Behemoth Titan instead of Trials. And you can't even jump in the air and shoot people anymore. It's like the fun gameplay we used to have, they kind of just removed. Which, I mean, I guess, to cater for people who aren't that good at the game, it makes sense why to do so. Of course, it's still possible that these things happen. It's just so much more unlikely now than it used to. The fact that you only had to put Icarus Grip on and actually able to hit your shots in the air without applying Heat Rises every time was crazy. Now it's just apply Heat Rises, and if you don't have Heat Rises, you're kinda fucked, I'm not gonna say that one of the best combos in the game isn't Cloudstrike Immortal. I'm not gonna act like that's not a thing, and it's not an issue because everyone is using it. I'm just saying there is a lot more options out there than just Cloudstrike and Immortal. If you just only want to use those two weapons, go for it. I'm not gonna stop you. The only problem that I'm gonna have with your loadout is probably gonna be Cloudstrike, because my teammate gets hit by it. I don't have a problem fighting Immortal without one. I can usually just put on something like a pulse rifle or a hand cannon and shoot you from, my own range so you can't kill me. That's the whole point of these weapons. But if you have something like a No Time, it's gonna be a lot more annoying because you can just kill me with the same time from any range you'd like, which is why I think the high impact pulses are just the strongest weapons in the game. It's like the only weapon that can do that if you're gonna take away something like Hung Jury with box breathing. Like, weapons aren't really an issue unless you take away Le Monarque. Le Monarque is a really big issue, and I don't understand when Bungie's gonna nerf it. Sure, I know when Bungie's gonna nerf it. They're gonna nerf the poison next season. I'm pretty sure, if I understood my information I've been giving correctly. But it's still not good enough. The fact that it's a bow, and they're buffing lightweight bows, by the way, and Le Monarque is classified as a lightweight bow, so it's gonna be even stronger again. And the fact that it has so dumb stats, it's the crazy part. 78 accuracy, 81 stability, 69 handling, and 70 reload with 70 aim assist. Let's compare this to my Tyranny of Heaven. 71 accuracy, 64 stability, 73 handling, and 60 reload, with 81 stability, of course. But it's like, oh yeah, I forgot, the impact on Le Monarque is just higher than a standard lightweight. I forgot to say it. But of course, it does have a slower draw time, but you can make work around that. That's not that bad. Oathkeepers with triple Void Loader. And it poisons your enemies, and it has Unrelenting, and it has Snapshot Sight. It's like, okay, what do you want to do? Now, it's not like Tyranny of Heaven, where you get a melee kill and you can one-shot the next person. But it is still really strong, because I don't even need to do that melee kill, but I can make people one-shot and, unable to fight for 3 minutes. Which I think is so dumb. It's not like Thorn. It's nothing like Thorn, right? Because Thorn also poisons people, but it doesn't do as much poison damage, and it doesn't poison you for as long. Le Monarque just poisons you for 10 minutes, and you can't regen throughout that whole time. But yeah, for most game modes that I noticed, the weapons I die the most to, especially in like 6s, is abilities. I don't really die to weapons that much. Like, gunfights aren't really that bad to get out of if you're about to lose it, and the thing that's going to kill you the most is grenades. Or melees. Like, abilities. Or like, supers. Supers aren't that big of an issue anymore, because you don't get your super every 10 minutes. The only supers that's an issue still is Wells and Bubbles. And then T-Crash, because it just gives you free kills. People who say T-Crash is bad now are kind of crazy, because I've seen people say T-Crash is just shit now. It's like, bro, it's not our fault he popped it at a bad time. My fault I can't just pop my super anywhere on the map and kill whoever I want. It's like, that's not how a super works, especially not a shutdown super. That's why T-Crash is so strong, because you have Nova Bomb. You can throw the Nova Bomb anywhere on the map, but anyone can move away. But in a T-Crash, you are the supers. You can chase people down. Shutdown supers are definitely the biggest issue with Destiny, in my opinion, because if you spend 10 minutes on getting your, behemoth or whatever, the second you pop your super, you're gonna get hit by a Nova Bomb, or T-Crashed, or Blade Barraged, and all that time was just for waste, because their super is just simply better than yours, and you can't do anything about it. Even though you might get more kills with something like a roaming super, shutdown supers are just the best in the game for just... Oh, they make me angry. They upset me. Keep shutdown supers to Bubbles and Wells, and keep them away from roamings. Yeah, but like the trend I've noticed, of course we all know which subclass is currently the best. It's Titan, and it's Arc and Void. It's not any other, it's Arc and Void that's currently the best, because Void gives you bubble, overshield, it gives you, a very good grenade, scatter grenades, and it's very good just overall. It gives you almost one-shot potential without even hitting anyone. Like, at least on Arc, you have to get punched back to be able to fuck them over with your punch. Or break their shield. But on Void, you just pop your overshield and punch a motherfucker, and then he's almost dead. You almost one-shot him. And I'm pretty sure if you have AC/DC on, you will one-shot him. Don't quote me on that one, though. But yeah, I think abilities need to get looked at a little bit more. It's not weapons that's the problem. I can promise you that much. It's definitely abilities. That's the round breaker. That's what's gonna change the game or not. It's not if someone can use a gun better than you. It's if they can spend more abilities than you. Anyway, if you understand where I'm coming from, I would appreciate that you would comment something, say something what you think. Every opinion is allowed. I don't care. I'm just saying what I think the biggest issue is. And, you know, if you like my content, if you want more, if you want me to continue, if you want me to continue, please check out my Patreon. I'm starving. I beg you. Anyway, I love you, and I'll see you guys around.